Welcome back, everyone. Up next, we have Intro to XEDIT with James. Go ahead, James.
Thank you and welcome back. We are going to get into some details about using XEDIT. So what is it? What exactly is XEDIT? I'm going to go through some of the details of what you'll see with the XEDIT screen and a little bit around its usage. So XEDIT is the editor for ZVM. It's the way you're going to be productive. You're going to want to use XEDIT for creating new files, for developing code, for seeing things that are currently available to you inside of files. It's extremely powerful. So there's a lot that you can do with XEdit, and it's nearly infinitely tailorable. What that means is you can set it up to do a lot of neat different things based on how you like to function within the editor. You can write macros or XEdit that will allow subcommands and functions, basically extends the functionality of XEdit. Very few users really exploit XEdit, which is perfectly okay because it is a powerful environment that you can do so much with, but really its intended purpose is to edit files. And if you know how to edit files, that's usually plenty. And just as a side note, it is, it's the editor of choice. There used to be another editor in years past called ISPF on the ZVM system that was an option. But XEdit is the place that you're going to be doing all your work. The command format is XEdit with a file name, file type, file mode, and at least the file name and file type that you want to XEdit. If you leave off the file mode, CMS is going to do a file search starting at A, whatever's accessed as A, and continue looking to see if it can find it. There are options that you can include on XEdit. So you can type help XEdit and see all the different options for the XEdit command. The short form is what nearly everybody uses, and that's just X. So X profile exec. If you don't like XEdit, in the previous session, I told you about creating synonyms. You can create a synonym for XEdit, or you can write your own Rex routine, which you're going to learn about tomorrow. Now, this XEdit screen. There's different areas of the default XEdit screen that you will see. And the arrows are pointing out the different locations, the different sections of the default XEdit screen. The very top line is the details of the file that you're currently XEditing. So the file name, file type, and file mode. Its file structure, how big it is, what line you're currently on, what column you're currently on, and how many alterations are done. The second arrow on the left side is pointing to what's called the prefix area. And we'll dig in a little bit more on that in a bit. The red line in the middle is your current line, or what's called the curl line. The scale is underneath the current line, so it just gives you a scale reference of columns. And then at the very bottom, the command line. This is your XEdit command line. And on the very bottom right corner, you see XEdit one file. That's your XEdit ring indicator, which we will talk about in a moment. This is my personalized XEdit screen. And if you understand that XEdit, it lets you define your environment the way you like it to be. I prefer my scale at the top. I prefer my command line at the top. I have other routines that set up special PF key display on my XEdit screen. And I also, in the far right top corner, I like to see the clock. Not that I don't have clocks everywhere on the system that I can see, but it's nice to know what time it is at whenever I'm working in files. I also turn on numbers for my prefix area because I prefer to see line numbers. Most people do want to see the line number of the file they're working in. So just an example of a customized XEdit session. Now, when you're in XEdit, your cursor location is going to matter on what's going to be allowed to happen or do within that file. So you might want to be entering data into the file. So your cursor's needs to be in the file area itself, entering a command on the command line, and entering prefix commands. So your cursor would have to be in the prefix area, etc. Some basic commands, save and quit, they do exactly that. Save saves the content of the file, and quit will leave the file. File is a command, which is actually a synonym for both save and quit at the same time. So it'll try to save and then quit. So if you really intended to do file or save or quit, if you really wanted to do that, but you get an error. So if you get an error, something like your file already exists or it was changed, it tells you use F file or S save. Another error you might see is the file's been changed, type Q quit to quit anyway. That's if you try to quit something that you were editing or changed and had not done a save yet. So you just double the first letter of the command you were trying and do it again. So F file, S save, Q quit. QQ is short for Q quit, so you can just type QQ if you want to get out real fast. And the same for FF and SS for file and save. So synonyms for the same routine or same command. Now movement around XEdit. By default, the function key 8 and function key 7 are used to go forward through the file and backward through the file. So F8 and F7. The command top to move you to the top or line 0 of the file. That's not the first line of the file, it's line 0, which is a different XEdit location of that display. Bottom, if you type the command bottom, that moves you to the bottom of the file, the very last line of the file. You can type a number, so you can type any number and move that many lines down, or you can do a negative number to move that many lines up. So if you type 5, it's going to move 5 lines down. If you type -5, it'll move 5 lines up. A slash in the prefix area, if you type a slash and then hit enter on the prefix area, it moves that line as the current line. So it brings that line up to the current line. If you want to go to a specific line in the file, you type a colon and then the number and hit enter, and it goes to that line. Moving left and right are the commands left and then some number, and right and some number to move that number of columns in the direction you desire. If you do the command with a 0, so left 0 or right 0, XEdit resets the view back to column 0. Now you can use XEdit to edit multiple files at once. So you can XEdit some file, XEdit file name, file type, file mode, and add, while you're in XEdit, the XEdit command on the XEdit command line. So you can XEdit another file on the command line. So you can round robin through the ring of files using X by itself again. So just typing X will take you to the next file in that XEdit ring. And I am going to show you an example of that because it's something that can help you, again, manage multiple files at once. So if I XEdit my file called profile exec A, if I want to XEdit another file, I can type it on the command line, profile XEdit A. So now I'm in, actually, hold on 1 second just to make this. Okay. Nope, didn't set it. Okay. Profile, oh, XEdit. All right. If I'm now X editing two files. If I type X, it takes me forward and backward, or sorry, it takes me forward through the XEdit ring of the files that I currently am working in. So I can XEdit as many files as I want and switch to them just typing X on the command line. Now there is a macro if you want called XP, which I included down in the bottom right here, that'll actually show you the previous file in the ring. So if I want to go back to a file that I was X editing, I can type XP if I have access to that macro. You can create that macro on your A disk and use it if you need to. The command query ring shows you the files that you have access or that you're currently X editing. So that's handy if you've got more than two files and you want to know exactly what files you have in your XEdit ring. If you type the cancel command on the XEdit command line, it will quit all of your XEdit files that you've currently got active, as long as nothing has changed in any of them. If something changed, you'll get a error message back to say that something has changed and you need to either save it or queue quit. Once you're in XEdit, you can view multiple files at once. So if you're X editing multiple files, you can set screen to horizontal or screen to vertical. And you can see both files at the same time on your display. And I will show that real quick, just so you can see an example. So I can split my screen by set screen. Oops, click the right thing here. To horizontal. So you can see my profile XEdit at the top, profile exec at the bottom. I can also do a set screen to vertical, and it splits it vertically. So they're side by side. So set screen helps you with accessing the files in your ring at the same time. Set screen also has a way that you can do combinations of both horizontal and vertical. You can actually use set screen and display more than two files at the same time. And I'll leave that to you to look into the XEdit set screen command, but you can actually create a view of 2, 3, 4 files all at the same time on your display. The macro example that I provide here called at screen or at SCR. That'll split the screen horizontally at the cursor location that you have on the first file. So if you type ATSCR on the command line, move your cursor down to a line you want to split it at and hit enter, it'll just split it at that location. Now locating things in XEdit. The simplest form is a slash and then the string you're looking for. That'll locate the string that you entered within that file. You can also use the all command. All and then some character delimiter, the string that you're looking for, and then the ending character delimiter. So it'll look for and show you any lines with only that string. The change command. Change some string. Again, this is a delimited character string. You're going to change some string to another string. So change the string this to that. And asterisk asterisk means I want to change all occurrences on all lines. You can type help xedit change and get more details on the change command if you want to learn more the different options that are available. But the example I give you there is the usual case of changing strings within your file. And then get. The get command will allow you to include another file within the file that you're xediting. So if you've got a a common file, a text file, or whatever the case may be that you use, let's say comments that you always want to put into your code, you can do a get of the file name, file type, file mode of that comments file, and XEdit will embed that into your current XEdit session. The status command, if you type status in XEdit, it shows you all the setting values of your XEdit session. It's a lot of information, but it's telling you everything that's been set and what it currently is set to. So you can see a lot of different information. And all of these things, nearly all of these things, you can set differently if you choose to. The XEdit environment itself has a lot of query options. It shows you specific settings for the environment option that you're querying. For example, query ring, that shows you what the XEdit ring currently has. And then with that, you also have set, the XEdit set command. It lets you change a lot of the XEdit settings. So you can change colors, you can change where the scale is, where the command line is, all those different things that you saw on the XEdit screen. There are a lot of them. So you can do help, XEdit, menu, and start drilling in and learning a lot more about all the different things that are available. Quick quiz.
All right, Slido's up. Go ahead and start joining. Go ahead, James, and reveal the answers.
Great, excellent. I saw a question pop up on the chat. Somebody asked, how do you search backwards? And I'm going to go back to this. The very first slash string to locate something, if you put a minus sign in front of the slash, it'll look backwards. It'll locate backwards. So that's a great question, and I will make sure to add that in to this presentation. All right, moving on. The prefix area, by default, you're going to see equal signs for the prefix area, or if you turn on numbers, you'll see line numbers, which is what I prefer. I'd rather see line numbers. That prefix area accepts a lot of different commands. D for deleting the current line, M to move the line, C to copy the current line, etc. I to insert one or more lines if you want to. SI, structured insert, which is something that I really like to use. That allows you to insert many lines. And I am going to show you that one because I find it very useful. So let's just go into, let's just pick this file. If I type, oh, and so you can see my screen better. If I type SI in the command of the prefix area of this file on line 3, it takes me into structured input. You see the dot, 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 dot in the prefix. It's waiting for me to type something. So if I type something and hit enter, it gives me the next line to keep typing. So I can keep typing. And it's a nice running way to keep adding data to your file as you're going. If you're done, don't enter anything, just hit enter, and it stops the structured input. Again, this is something that I use a lot, and I hope you'll find that useful too. You can select ranges with using the prefix commands dd for deleting a block. So starting with the first row and last row that you want to either delete, move the mm, or copy the cc. So that defines a block of lines. Once you're done entering the command in the prefix area, you just press enter. That activates that whatever you typed in the prefix area. If you've typed a number of things in the prefix area and you don't want to do any of them and they're pending execution, you can type reset as a command on the command line, and that clears any pending prefix command. Using the input on the command line. Input puts you into input mode. So it's just a blank slate of input area, so you can keep typing new text. So enter will give you more input space, and enter on an empty line exits. Similar to SI, but it's a little bit different in that all you see is what you're entering. SI, I think, again, is better because it lets you see everything around it, and it just seems to flow a lot easier to get new data into your file if you're going to be typing more than one line. Now, filing and saving the current file as something else. So you might be editing a file and you want to save it as something else. You can type file and then the other file name, file type, file mode, or conversely save the other file name, file type, file mode, and XEDIT will save the content of your current XEDIT session into that file. If that file already exists and you want to overlay it, you would have to use file or save. And if it does exist and you're trying to write over on top of the file, XEDIT will come back and tell you that it exists and to use those commands. So you can use what's called named targets in your file. This allows you to set those names in the prefix area with whatever name you would like. So it's 1 to 4 characters in the prefix area, preceded by a dot. So you would type something like dot here in the prefix area, and you name that line as here. And if you type any of the name targets on the command line with the dot, so dot here on the command line, XEDIT will take you directly to that line. You can have as many named targets in your file as you would like. So you can set different points within your file to be able to jump back and forth between different sections really fast. You can also use named areas on the change command and other commands that use location. You can enter the change command, change some string to that string dot here, which means change these strings up to the named location of dot here. If you happen to delete a line that had a name on it, that name's gone. So if I deleted the line that I put dot here on, I can no longer use dot here as a target location. The command query point asterisk shows you all of your named locations and where they are. Again, that's really handy if you set multiple named targets throughout your file. So this will help you remember and show you where they're all set. You can use set point and then the name target off. If you don't necessarily remember where it was or just want to turn it off and be done with it, you can use the set point off. So handy location naming within your file. Now, like Profile Exec for CMS, there is a Profile XEDIT that you can define that will let you customize your XEDIT session. It's normally always in Rex code. Again, Rex is going to be taught tomorrow. And it contains all of the settings that you want to be different for your XEdit sessions. The default on a brand new ZVM system is no profile. You get no customized settings. On some systems, you may have access to a tools disk or a public disk or something that the system administrator has made accessible for everyone that has a profile XEdit on it that will set things a little bit differently for you. But normally, you're going to get a default XEdit session like I showed at the very beginning with the prefix area with equal signs, the current line is in the middle with the scale right underneath it, and the command line at the bottom. You can define and build your own profile XEdit. Once you learn a little bit about Rex, you can edit or start a new file called Profile XEdit A and add XEdit commands that you would like to change. A simple example of some of the commands that you can use in your Profile XEdit. There's a lot of them, but as you get used to XEdit and as you use the status command to see all the different settings, you can use the query XEdit command to see specific settings. And so you can start getting an idea of things that you would prefer to change and build your own profile XEdit. Chaining locate commands. So locate subcommands can be chained. So what that means is if you have another command, you can include it after a locate. And if that locate succeeds, if it finds what you're looking for, that other subcommand is executed. If the locate fails, everything else after it is ignored. So this is an example. Slash this and that, and then 2, and then a C, which is short for change, what to where. And what that example does, it looks really strange. That locates a line that has both this and that strings. So the line has to have both of those strings on it. If it found that line, It then moves down 2 lines and changes any string of what to the string where on that line. So it's just an example of you can do a locate and then some other command or multiple commands to right after that locate succeeds. You can also use repeat and then a number. That repeats the last command you entered until the end of the file. So if you did some specific command and you wanted to do it over and over again for multiple lines, you can just use repeat instead of typing the command over and over again or retrieving the command multiple times for each line. Now, a little bit about upper and lower case. Since you're editing files, the case is going to matter depending on what it is that you're editing. So set case is going to control what is set during your XEDIT session. The default is normally mixed or upper, but it's based on the file type. So the file type of the file you're editing can set the default differently, along with the default of respect. So set case mixed ignore, in my opinion, is what I usually use, and I think it's probably one of the best. The mixed allows mixed case data in the file. So if you're editing a file and you're typing letters in lowercase, they will stay lowercased. And ignore means searching. I can type the search commands with any character string, and it's going to find it case independent. For converting lines, if I type a line in lowercase and I'm currently in set case mixed, it's going to leave it all lowercase. I can use the upper command with a number after it, or upper, like upper 10 to uppercase 10 lines, or conversely lowers, it does lowercase for the entire line. And then the text between your set zone, whatever zone of columns that you currently have, that's what's translated to upper and lowercase using those commands. So you can do a query zone to see what your zone setting is. You can do a set zone if you want to narrow down the columns you want to change. And then those upper and lower commands will only change those columns. So if you have set case upper set, and the entire line gets uppercase, but you didn't intend it to, you can use lower and lowercase it, etc., and vice versa. A little bit about the file structures. Files in CMS can be fixed or variable length records. When you're in XEDIT, on the very top line, you'll see the file record format of the file you're currently editing. Or you can see it with the file list utility or the list file command. They also show you the record format of the files. So you're going to see F for fixed or V for variable. You can use set rec fm F or V to change the record format of that XEDIT session of the file you're XEDIting. Now, if you want to change the LRECL or the width of a file that's currently a variable length file, it's really easy to do. You would just XEDIT the file with the open parenthesis and the option width and a number, the number of the LRECL that you want that file to be. So if my file is currently LRECL 100, but I want it to be an LRECL 500 because I'm going to be adding new data that's got long records past 100, I would do XEDIT, file name, file type, file mode, open paren, width 500. And XEDIT would give me a file to edit with records that are a width of 500. Changing a fixed length file is a little more difficult. And I gave you a list of commands that you could do uh, that would change the width of a fixed length file. You would have to XEdit it with the width that you want, and then set the LRECL, the logical record length, set the truncation, set the zone, and then set the verify, or what amount of the data that you want to see on the XEdit session on each line. So you'd have to do all of those commands in order to successfully change a fixed length record format file. Or, much easier, use copy file, file name, file type, file mode, then the option LRECL, whatever record length you want, and then the record format of fixed or record format V for variable. And the copy file will happily change a fixed length file for you with just that one command. Other useful commands to have handy. Set zone for defining the columns, to zone in, literally zone in on columns for changing things, looking for things, anything that has targets. Set verify, that's how much of the data of each line you want to see in your XEdit session. So you can actually verify, set verify like set zone, but set verify a subset of the XEdit file to show on the screen. And it's only affecting what you see. The data that's not being shown is still on the lines. It's just not being shown to you if you change set verify. Set prefix, you can turn it on or off. So you can turn your prefix area on or off. If you don't want your prefix area showing, you want more space to see data, you can type set prefix off and you get 6 or 7 extra columns to see data. If your prefix area is visible, you can use set number on or off. So if you want to see the line numbers, you do set number on, and instead of the equal signs on the prefix area, you see numbers, which is preferred in my opinion. You can change all the colors of the different areas of XEdit. The file area, the prefix area, the status area, etc. There's a bunch of different areas in XEdit that you can change. So if you don't like the colors the way they're default, you can change them. Set shadow. Shadow lines are shown to you if you do a command like all. So if I'm in XEdit and I do the command all with some delimited string, XEdit's only going to show me the lines that have that string in them. The other lines are hidden. They're just not displayed, but you could see what's called a shadow line. And XEdit's going to show you the number of lines that are hidden with a comment line across the display. You can turn that display on and off with set shadow. Set stay, that tells whether or not the line pointer moves when a locate is not found. And what that means is if you do a set stay on, if I do a locate when I'm on the top of the file and my locate is not found, it will stay at the top of the file. If set stay is off and you do a locate and it doesn't find it, it will take you all the way to the end of the file. And that's where your current line will end up if set stay is off. Split join, this is normally set by default to the PF key 11 or function key 11. This will split or join lines. So if you put your cursor on a data line, say in the middle of a data line, and you hit F11, it will split the line at your cursor. So the data after your cursor ends up on the next line. If you hit F11 again, it will join what you just split from that line. So it'll just basically put it back to the way it was. If you take your cursor to the end of any data line and hit F11, it will join whatever's on the next line where your cursor is. So that's how split join will work for you. So in summary, XEdit is very powerful. It's tremendously very rich with function. It lets you do a lot of different things if you would like to. File list, reader list, dir list, all of those utilities, those are actually XEdit sessions. It's just a very, very fancy macro behind the scenes showing all that different display for you, but it's just XEdit. You could build your own macros to do similar kinds of things, but that's going to take a little bit more learning for you to figure out all the different parts that you would need to put together. But it's perfectly feasible to do. Learning as much as you can about XEdit will make you even more productive. Learning commands, learning shortcuts, to navigate, to change things, to do the work you need to do, it just makes you that much better. It's similar to the old quote, "How do you get to Carnegie Hall?" And the answer is practice, practice, practice. And this is true for XEdit. Read the manuals. The XEdit User's Guide and the XEdit Commands and Macros Reference are great resources, especially the XEdit User's Guide. The User's Guide is going to give you guidance on doing different things within XEdit and a little bit of training and show and tell on how to do some different things within XEdit. So don't be afraid, just mess around with it. Go into an XEdit session on a temporary file, try some commands, see how they work, and just get used to the environment. The quicker you get used to XEdit, the better, because that's why you're going to be using your CMS user ID most likely, is to create files, maintain files. So knowing XEdit is going to be the best thing for you. After tomorrow, you'll be able to build some Rex macros if you want to do things quicker and easier. If you have to enter the same kinds of commands over and over again, that's the time to start thinking about building a Rex macro within XEdit. And this one has homework to do. So your task for this is to log on your user ID. Again, if you don't have access, you can use your own user ID. XEdit a file called movie quote A. When you're in the file, go into the data area and enter a quote from your favorite movie or show in mixed case. When you're done, file it and send the file, just like it's stated here, to the ID called homework. If you do not have access to our demo system, go ahead and create your file on your ZVM user ID and just do a screen print or some kind of a copy and send it to homework@velocitysoftware.com. Should be fairly simple, hopefully. And again, all of this homework is collected and checked and used for the completion certificates at the end of the classes. And that's it. I'm going to leave this slide up. The ending slide is the usual ending slide. So again, questions@velocitysoftware.com is an email if you have more questions you need answered. But I hope this session, the intent of the session was to give you a reasonable foundation for using the XEDIT editor within CMS to get some of your work done. Does anybody have any questions? If there are none, I will turn it back to the moderator, give you a little bit more time back for the day. I think we will stay online for just a bit in case there are questions that pop up that we can answer. And I wish you all the best and see you tomorrow.
All right, thank you, James, and thank you everyone for attending our session today. This is it, getting out a little bit early, and we will see you all back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. If you need immediate help, we will be staying on the call just a little bit longer. Otherwise, any questions can be emailed to questions@velocitysoftware.com. Thank you.